All right, welcome back. Day 4 update here. Project SeaArk Rescue. Anybody following along, I'll share with you the next step in the process, which was working on removing the floor. I felt it was going to be a bit of a challenge. That floor has been in this boat easily well over 10 years, and I know it came out or was actually put in at that point after the boat was made, and I'll get into that here in a little bit. I'll share some suggestions and recommendations for you, again, based on what I'm learning or as I go through the process. I've done this before with an actually much newer SeaArk 1872. I think that was 2005 or 2006. That was considerably easier. But getting back to the floor removal here, it was a project I knew it would be, and it did not disappoint. The one thing I kind of did, I attempted to plan prior to getting into this, but I learned once I was actually well into it, as much as I did plan, I did have to make adjustments along the way and try a variety of different tactics to get the floor out. I will tell you this, if you're working on SeaArk or Lumicraft or Express or whatever it is, and you've got a floor that has been in there for any length of time and subject to marine environment, especially salt water, and there are stainless fasteners in there, having the proper tools is critical. And I'll share with you the steps that I took based upon my research, and in the end ended up taking the last resort, kind of. The first thing is obviously got to have the proper tools, and again, as I went through this, ended up with some delays in ordering different things and whatnot. But first thing, I started out and kind of stepping back, went ahead and sprayed PB Blaster on the screw heads that are all in there. The perimeter were all hex heads. They were not stainless, they were self-tappers. Getting those out didn't prove too horribly difficult. There were a few that were a little bit of a challenge, but I ended up taking those out with a ratchet and a set of wrenches. The one thing I did find, that I originally bought a ratchet set at Harbor Freight, and normally I have pretty good luck with those. It was like 20 bucks for the ratchet set. However, the half-inch ratchet, the head quit, and the inner workings on it gave up. So ended up going back to Harbor Freight. The one thing about Harbor Freight is, which I really like, is they've got a lifetime warranty policy and replacement. The actual set I was working with was probably a month old, but again, I found that no matter how old a hand tool is, you've got your account set up in there with your phone number. They can look up all of your purchases regardless if you've got your receipt or not. So went on to their website and looked at various ratchet sets, and there was one made by Quinn, standard and metric. I think that was about 50 bucks. So I went back and returned the one I bought. They gave me credit on that, which that was really cool. And another really important tool that I'll share with you, I would highly recommend, aside from a ratchet, is get a good set of wrenches, not adjustable. Get a good set, and I think I bought a pair of or set of Pittsburgh standard and metric. Uh, Pretty much cover the whole gamut of sizes that you could use. I think that was 20 bucks, so that was a really super good investment. Uh, I tend to try not to use fire strips and whatnot. I don't want to take any chances of stripping anything. And depending upon the situation, I may use a six-sided socket to back things out. But in this instance, again, I went ahead and used my wrenches and also the ratchet set to back some out. But anyway, getting back to the floor, like I said, this floor has been in there a long time. One of the first things I tried after doing some research was to try a screw extractor by Grab-It rather. Grab-It extractor, the Grab-It extractor Pro from Home Depot. Went in, picked that up, and it may work in some instances, but for anything that's been subjected to being outside in a harsh marine environment, especially anything near salt water. This particular boat was probably about 12, maybe 15 miles from the coast, but it sat outside, exposed to the elements for God knows how long, many years. So everything with the corrosion between the stainless and the dissimilar metals and the aluminum floor, they turned out to be basically one and the same, or they almost welded to the floor. So the first thing I tried was the Grab-It screw extractor, and that didn't do much. And then the next suggestion I found was to use heat. So I took a propane torch, and that combined with the Grab-It screw extractor, I started working on the down the center of the hull, working on those screws. And to get two of them out, that process took close to 2 hours just to get two out, which is absolutely ridiculous. So that wasn't going to work. So I went back, and the next scenario was, okay, let's get a good set of carbide drill bits. I actually did some research. Best thing I found in looking, doing the Google search and then going to Amazon was a Bosch carbide drill bit set, maybe 10, 12, 15, 16 piece set. I'm really not sure. They were rated really well. Home Depot had them, so I ended up going to Home Depot and picked up a set of those. And as I started, the first thing I found was cordless drill. I originally have had for quite a while a hyper tough Walmart special cordless drill. Great if you're doing some little piddly things around the house, putting up curtain rods or putting a screw into wood or whatever the case may be. However, it has absolutely zero torque. It's useless. Okay, if you're doing anything more than putting up curtain rods or little simple stuff, don't even waste your time. It's useless. So with that, again, took a step back and did some more research and working on YouTube and Google and whatnot. Home Depot carries a obviously carry a Milwaukee top of the line tools, but the one tool that is rated really well, that comes with quick charge and a couple of batteries, was made by Ryobi. It's got the 18 volt drill and hammer drill. Picked that up and started working with those. And after working on those with the carbide bits, I went from going down the center of the hull, starting to drill those out and still apply heat, which actually brings me into another point. When you are drilling into stainless and the heat generated by a drill bit actually hardens the stainless. So it makes it all the tougher. As I went slow, it started, and I did put cutting oil on there to try to cool it down, but nonetheless, it was still a serious chore. And as I went through and started getting some of those out, another plan I had made in the interim, knowing I may have to get into this, was to invest in a really good Dremel with the appropriate metal cutoff wheels, metal grinders, and whatnot. Again, back to YouTube, back to Amazon, and searching, I ended up picking up a Dremel 4300. Really good Dremel. Picked that up with some metal cutting disc from Amazon. So ultimately, between running back to Harbor Freight, doing all my research, running to Home Depot, going to another Harbor Freight store because they didn't have what I needed, that actually caused some extensive unplanned for delays. But well, as I say, it is what it is. So if you take anything out of all this, just take note of any suggestions I have to offer. Maybe it's going to help you. Don't know. But once I ended up getting, I got a good Pittsburgh wrench set. I ended up getting a good ratchet set from Harbor Freight. I ended up with a good Ryobi drill, which got a phenomenal amount of torque, worked absolutely great. The Bosch drill bit set, carbide drill bit set. Got to have carbide, titanium, forget about it. It's a bit soft. Anything else that you see out there that indicates you can, and I did find a regular high-speed drill bit set. I wouldn't even go there. I just don't see it working. I didn't want to waste my time. Not that I'm any kind of a super tight time schedule here, but nonetheless, time is valuable. Time is money, so to speak, right? So I went ahead and got all the appropriate tools. But once I ended up with the tools, and then I tried the propane torch to loosen things up, figuring the aluminum is going to expand, which makes sense. However, by the same token, it heats up the stainless, so kind of sort of maybe a little counterproductive. But nonetheless, once I had the Ryobi drill, the Bosch drill bit sets in hand, and my Dremel from Amazon, things began to get considerably easier. I had a game plan formulated based on some experience, which experience being the wonderful teacher it is, it ultimately all worked out in doing the research. So I would say sans the issues with my delays and running around and doing my research, from start to finish to get the whole floor out, probably about, without batting an eye, 10 hours. A lot of work. Going back in, I've got some thoughts on how I'm going to approach it, so I think it may be a bit easier. But you can see the floor. I've got, that's the port side, starboard side, forward back there. The one thing I found after I took this out, it originally, the Ford didn't have the tread plate like the standard SeaArk 4, right? What I've been able to determine is the 4 was originally way back when this boat was bought, clearly before the individual I bought it from. Someone kind of installed their own floor. It's made out of a pretty heavy aluminum, easily pliable. They went ahead and cut around all of the braces. And once I get everything out, running down the center of the hull, they actually, and you'll see that here in a minute, they actually put maybe a good 8 or 10 inch wide strip of aluminum to secure things through. So that made that was pretty smart, whoever did that. So there's plenty of good metal in there. But we'll see what we ran into here. We'll take a walk over and show you where we ended up. And as you'll see here, well, there's my 4 fenders, console, everything is taken out. And going back to the trailer for a second, my bearing buddies arrived yesterday, so I've just got to put those in, and the trailer is ready to roll down to St. Pete to be reworked. But in looking at the 4 here for a moment, I knew one reason I want to take everything out, the 4 would be extremely dirty, and it is. It was uncovered, so all of the leaves and debris from years of sitting outside, that's where everything is at there. So that'll all be cleaned out, vacuumed out, and double check all the welds. So far with the welds, everything looks good. Then my benzomatic propane, I went through a couple of those, but no bueno, that didn't work. All of the screws that held the brackets along the side for the floor, they're all there. They're I want to say they're 10 millimeter self tappers, so I'll be able to reuse those. The one thing I recommend, regardless if it's a stock 4 or whatnot, when I took all of my brackets and braces out, I went ahead and labeled all those S1, S2, 3, 4, and P1, and so on and so forth for port, starboard, and the location. So when I put them back in, it will be considerably easier. The one thing that is abundantly clear is, I've said way back when I started this, and I've known for years, SeaArk makes easily one of the best production all welded hulls out there. I mean, it's pretty easy to see how stout all of these ribs are. They've got to be 3 inches. I've done a quick check so far with all the ribs, port and starboard, everything, the welds are all solid. When I get the inside of the hull cleaned out, and I'll go back and check all of those welds, and again, once I get everything, the boat and trailer, rather the trailer back from slide on, is I'll put the boat, take it and dunk it and double check for any leaks in the hull. If there are any, we'll get that taken care of, but don't really perceive. So again, so is pretty straightforward. I went ahead and able to get the polling platform off. That's just a I think it's fiberglass. Not sure. It's got a couple of rod holders in there, but I'm going to use probably some 3/4 inch starboard. Got a piece cut, drilled out. That'll be really simple. Not a big deal there. And there's the mounts. Those were made by a local welder. God knows how many years ago, but and they bolt on to the stern. Stout as hell, super strong. And one point of concern, I am going to put a jack plate on the back of the hull. So I had the measurement from the top of the mounting point up to the bottom of the polling platform. I wanted to see how much free space I had there. The jack plate, Atlas jack plate, takes it up. I believe there's like a 5-inch lift on that jack plate. So when the motor's up at its farthest point on the jack plate with the 5 inches of lift between the top of the cowling and the bottom of the polling platform, I'm going to have 2.5 inches of space. So that's actually a pretty good thing. Then I got my Devco rather, aluminum filler in. Stern of the hull, there's various little holes and whatnot. The screws going in over the ear. That's going to be simple. We'll just cut those off, grind the heads down with a Dremel, and run over those with the Devco. Same up in the bow as the various little holes and whatnot up there in the bow. I started taking off the cleats. I actually got one off and a couple of stubborn rusted stainless there. I went ahead and took my metal cutting disc with my Dremel and cut a slot in the top of those for a screwdriver to get that out, and started to try to loosen them up, but work smart, not hard, right? So I went ahead and hit them with PB Blaster again. So I've got the one out, and the second one, actually the second and third one, they're loosened up a bit, but I'm going to let the PB Blaster work hard so I don't have to sit here and do that. The one thing that has proven enormously beneficial to me, I went to Home Depot, got a couple of lengths of PVC pipe. I think, I don't know, maybe one's 1.5 inches ID, the other one's 1 1/4. So as you can see, you're putting one inside the other. Big plus getting out the floor, right? And I used a little small tire iron combined with that and screwdrivers and whatnot. So as I pop that up, the extra leverage was a super big help. And then I just rolled inserted the PVC under the floor as I started pulling it up. So that's where we're at with the floor. That went actually went as I anticipated. It was going to be a bit of a chore when I go back in. I'm going to give myself a little bit of play in the front to back. I'll clean up the edges with my grinder down the center. I'll clean up any rough edges there to give me a little bit of room. But I think what I'll do along all of the ribs where the cutouts here, again, when this was made, some of the cuts are not, it gives a little bit of issue with fit. They're not exactly squared up. Not a big deal. I'll take my metal grinder, metal cutoff wheel with my Dremel, get those squared up, so that won't prove to be much of an issue. And I just want to give myself a little bit of play in the bow and in the stern. There's a 1x1 aluminum plate bar, a piece of stock that runs across where the screws attached to. So I'm going to show those up, getting good and tight. Won't be a problem there. And so that way, I want to have a little bit of play when I put these back in, as opposed to being such a tight fit, because we're going to take this up to Ocala and get it media blasted, and then they coat it with they spray it with a primer. Anybody that knows aluminum, if it sits out and it's been, this will basically be back to bare metal. When they're done, aluminum will start to oxidize on you if you don't properly prep it or paint it within, I don't know if it's 24 hours or just what it is, but nonetheless, they'll go ahead and prime it with their material, and the same with the floor. So once that's done, we're up there being done, I will have the floor ready to go. And when I get it back, the media blast the floor and the hull and whatnot and prime that. And we'll get all that put back in before we go to paint. I guess the next thing, I'll go ahead and take a little step back for a day here, reorganize, and finish up. I've got my bow and stern navigation lights figured out, but I'll take the Devco material, go ahead and touch up all the little drill holes and whatnot, get that squared away. We're all set to take this down to trailer down to St. Pete to have them work on that. That's on the 18th. And then we'll take the boat off the trailer here in the yard, block it up, and I'll just tie the stern, pull it off to a tree, and start to slide the boat off gradually, and then block it up in the back, and then the same thing on the front, keep it as low as I can, and get it all blocked up, and hopefully that goes. I've done a little bit of homework on that, but that'll be the next thing. And then when I get it back, we'll run it up to paint. And so anyway, so there we are with the day 4 update. But again, anybody, if I don't care what type of aluminum hull you've got, I don't care if it's a Bass Tracker or a SeaArk or Express or Lumicraft or whatever you're running, if you are going to be removing any metal, bolts, stainless, tappers, or whatever they are, and they've been out there any length of time, just maybe keep in mind what I've suggested. And when you put them back in, I mean, a lot of people use Tef gel, and for what you get, it's crazy expensive. So I'm just going to go ahead and run with a lanolin grease. Actually works really, really well. So I'll use some lanolin grease when I put those things in, and I won't have trouble with dissimilar metals. And if I ever need to take it out again, God forbid, it'll be much easier than all my fasteners. I'm going to use a torque head, torque pan screw. Hopefully I can get some pan screw torque heads to put everything back in. I'll go with stainless. So going back in should be a lot easier, and getting the floor secured. And so anyway, so that's where we're at. And again, I'll update next video here in a couple of days. I'm going to take a step back, reorganize, and see what the next step is. But the getting the cleats out and working on that, and I'm going to double check all my measurements for my hatches. And I've already got pricing on my hatches. I'm just going to double check my measurements, have those made. I've got my jigsaw. I've done the research on what drill bits, what hacksaw blades to use for cutting thick metal. So I picked those up at Home Depot and try to put a little bit of pre-planning into the game. So there we are anyway. So anybody has any comments, suggestions, hey, I'm good. Running by me. Other than that, we'll see you all here on the next run, and keep the SeaArk Rescue riding. Over and out.